All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Hearing Things with Julie and Brad and Tom.
And Tom. Yes, it is. Tom is Brad's older brother, and we are interviewing him this week about life with a hard of hearing sibling, and we interviewed my brother previously as well. And it's kind of cool because my brother is 7 years younger, and now we have the flip. You're the eldest sibling.
I'm 7 years older.
And talking to and about your brother who's 7 years younger. So we had a little flip around for this episode. It's kind of cool. So I'm just going to sit back and let the boys run it. Yeah.
Oh dear.
So, well, the first question is there. So, state your name for the record.
Tom.
So he, like Julie said earlier, he's my older brother. So he's my older half brother. So it's the bad half. I have hearing loss because I get it from my father, and
I have selective hearing loss.
Yeah. Selective hearing or selective hearing loss?
Both.
Okay, great. So he does not have the hearing loss. So, okay, so we're just going to run down this question. I think you saw these earlier, right?
I think so, yes.
That's fine. So what do you like best about your deaf and hard of hearing brother? He's like, pass!
No, you're definitely, you've always been empathetic with people. Not just sympathetic. You seem to put yourself in their shoes. I don't know if that's from your experiences with being hard of hearing, or if it's just your natural way.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something that I've often wondered. Like it comes to do with the introversion, right? So same basic thing. You're absolutely right. That's my default, is to put myself in somebody else's shoes.
Right.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if it had anything to do with my hearing or just who I am. So it's kind of weird. How do you tease that apart?
Isn't that great how I just threw the question back on you?
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next one.
Okay.
All right. There we go. What is your earliest memory of realizing that I was hard of hearing?
I was talking to Mom about this because I was trying to figure when it was. And really, I think it was when you failed that hearing test.
Oh, really? You remember that?
I do remember you failing it, and Mom always made it a point not to make it an issue.
Yeah.
You were able to sit in the front of a class and hear well enough, and you did great in school.
Yeah.
So, compared to me.
Wow. That's not hard.
No. But, it's, I never really took any account into it. You were just my brother.
No, that's great, because I think Julie and I talk about that, as we don't want our deafness to define us, but we also can't ignore it.
Right.
So that's great. So what accommodations did you have to do as I was a child? Did you remember making any accommodations?
Not really. I mean, just the typical, you'd think maybe I'd have to repeat myself now and again. Fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, I tend to have a very loud voice anyway, so it was kind of hard not to hear me.
I tried, believe me, I tried. So do you find yourself making any accommodations now as I'm older?
No, it's just the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every now and then you don't hear something, and, I have no problem repeating it, and, like I've said, you and I have always had a very close rapport together. I remember that when I was 7 years old, I had wanted a little brother.
Aww.
So as far as I was concerned, I didn't care if you're totally deaf or if you're, I didn't even take into account of that could be a possibility, even with your dad being it.
Right.
Because, of course, like Brad said earlier, we're half siblings. We have the same mother but different fathers, and the hearing loss is in his father's side.
Right. What else we got here? Has humor or teasing played a role in your interaction? I mean,
constantly is with the two of us. And that was another thing that I asked Mom, because I said I don't recall when I was a kid making fun of you for being hard of hearing.
No.
And it wasn't a conscious thing.
No.
On my part. It was just, he's hard of hearing. He might need me to repeat things. That's it.
Do you remember making conscious decisions to talk louder? I mean, you don't really have to.
Everybody says to make conscious decisions to talk softer.
I will say that I do notice it, like when we get together with my father, and when we were growing up, your voice would raise more for Dad because his hearing was worse.
Yes,
so, like,
I know it was.
Even though I didn't have hearing aids at the time, my dad did. His hearing has always been worse than mine.
Right.
And so I do notice that you kind of talk a little even louder with him because you have to.
Well, like this is my normal talking voice, which is loud for a lot of people. When I talk to Bob, it would be up at this high.
It's true. Yeah.
And it was just normal.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think that you make the accommodation once in your mind, and it just becomes a default volume.
I think it was always a default because I knew from a young age that he was hard of hearing even before they got married, when they were still dating. You know, I noticed Mom talking louder, so I just naturally did it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
do you remember him without hearing aids?
I do.
I don't remember him without hearing aids.
Well, of course, I remember when he was dating Mom, and one of Mom's favorite stories was when they were dating, and he always loved to do stuff with me.
Yeah.
You know, that's how she knew that he was the guy that she wanted to marry. Because he was all ready to accept another child in his life. And we got back from the mall, or he actually picked us up at the mall, sorry. And it was Christmas time, and I'm about 3 or 4 years old at the time. And he, just joking around, said to Mom, "So what did you get me?" And she goes, "Nothing." And I go, "But Mom, what about the blue sweater and the white one?"
Yep. Always liking to talk.
Yep.
That's funny. Yeah. That's interesting because I was thinking about that earlier. It's like I don't remember him without hearing it.
I
must
do.
be. Yeah, you must.
I mean,
you've known him longer.
I've known him longer.
Here we go. That's a good one. Do you feel any responsibility for me in terms of my safety navigating the world?
And of course, because I have seen these questions, and like I said, I did talk to Mom about it. I asked her about that. I said, I don't recall ever doing that. And she said, out of the three of us, our sister is the most protective. Actually, she's protective of both of us. And she's the one you want to mess with the least, and she's the youngest. Yeah. But she was always very protective of you. I was protective when it came to, remember, bullies.
Yeah.
Because being an empathetic person, you don't like to fight. And if I had your body build, I probably would have been the biggest bully in school because I'd be able to cash the checks with my body that my mouth was writing. But no, I got incensed by the bully in the neighborhood that was picking on you.
No, that was tough for sure. Yeah. So you don't feel any responsibility. Do you worry about me at all?
I do worry about, the way just general society is. Although you and I have talked about how it does seem to be going along, like with the movie theaters. You have those things where you can see the closed captions. Granted, we went to a subtitled movie the other day, so you didn't need them. But I do like the fact that they have that available for you. Because I don't know how much you do hear, even though the sound in a movie theater is astronomically loud to start with, but along with that is how much are you gleaming from the voices and what they're saying, or if it's just noise.
I remember coming out of the theater for The Dark Knight Rises, the Heath Ledger movie, and that was the last movie I saw in the theaters for years because captioning wasn't a thing, and the issue was that the explosions and the music and it was so loud. And then Batman speaks like this, and I couldn't hear him, and I was like crushed coming out of that movie. Yeah. So I can. You're absolutely right. Now there's a caption available for me, so it's fantastic,
and I love that.
Yeah, it's great. What is one of your funniest memories about dealing with my death? Me.
With you? Well, actually, I think I had secretly said for Julie to remind me. Oh. But I actually reminded.
Okay, good.
I reminded on my own. I remembered on my own.
Words is hard.
Yes. It's not really it's kind of funny for the way it happened, but it also shows...
Are you going to embarrass me?
No. Sorry. But it does show in this example of how I always respected you for being your own person. I remember one day I came into your room and you were listening to some jazz, and you dove across your bed to try to shut it off. And I said, "What are you doing?" You said, "Oh, you're a metalhead. This isn't the type of music you like." And I told you, "You shut that off. I will punch you." And we sat there and listened to a few songs, and I think you realized there that I like all genres, not just hair metal that I like.
Right. Yeah.
But that's one thing that I absolutely love about you, is that you do have different things. You weren't just trying to glomp onto me, even though you were 7 years younger, and that's usually about the age that the big brother, I got you everything. And I mean, you introduced me to the squirrel nut zippers. I absolutely loved them.
Nice.
So
that's fun. I remember that very vividly. I was young, but I do remember, because I just think of the like Motley Crue and Slaughter and all those bands, and like this was like John Coltrane or something like that.
It was some great music.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, so that's funny. That's great. What are some pros and cons of having a disabled sibling?
Well, the con is you're taller than me. But,
it's not a con, it's for real.
It sucks for me. But I honestly don't look at it as a pro or con. It's just something that you have.
Yeah.
And it's always been that way for me. I don't think it's a pro or a con, it just is. And like I said earlier, I love the fact that you're so empathetic and you are your own person, which, so many people probably would have tried to mimic their older brother just totally.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you don't. I really don't see much of anything for a con. I mean, sure, we probably had our differences growing up and our arguments. Kids will be kids. But I always not only loved having you as a brother, and still love having you as a brother, by the way, but, I love the fact that you're your own person and just, getting to know you as a whole.
That's great.
Like I said, the hard of hearing thing, it's just a thing. That's like, if you told me, I like the color blue, okay.
I do like the color blue.
So there you go. Venta black for me.
Well.
I like a scientifically created black.
No natural colors for that one. Well, that's great. That's a great way to look at it. So on another note, or another idea, have you ever been embarrassed by me?
No. Even as a little kid, I've never been embarrassed by you. Even though we have a 7-year age difference, I always enjoyed hanging out with you. Yeah, even in those awkward teen years, I still loved hanging out with you.
I do remember that. I remember you never made. I mean, we didn't hang out as much as you got older.
No,
but that's just the normal course of things. But whenever we were together, you always made me feel a part of it. Part of whatever we were doing. I was never a hanger-on.
Okay, time to embarrass you.
Now we gotta go, everybody.
One thing just came to mind. I think it was your birthday. Yeah. My father and I took you out bowling.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, you were a little kid at this time.
Well,
I mean, gosh, you were young.
There you go.
You were probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And you were still doing the underhand thing for Candlepin. And you got your first strike, and it was the slowest strike I've ever seen. Literally one pin after the other. The ball would just hit it with enough force to knock over the first.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately don't have the picture anymore, but my father got a great picture of you when you turned around. Just this great picture.
It was I remember that. I can still remember that vividly.
It was so great. Really I was so happy for you. Like I said, I've always loved hanging out with you.
Yeah, it's true. It's great. Let's see. What? How do you view and treat families or people with hard of hearing? So, like, if you come across hard of hearing someone who's not me, how do you treat? Yeah. Well, besides that one.
I mean, if they can tell me ahead of time that they're hard of hearing, if there's anything they need from me, if they need me to speak louder, if they need me to write it, if they need me to write something down. Yeah. You might need me to speak louder if you've ever seen my penmanship. I might have to do it by the phone.
Just text. Don't read his writing because he can't.
But no, it's and all through life it is about respecting others. I hesitate to call it a disability because it's really not. It's just, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 5'6", he's 6'3". He's going to reach things on the higher shelf than I will. That's just the way things are. I can go under his legs in basketball. That's just the way things are.
So we just have the last question. Did you want to say anything to chime in, Julie?
I think this is fantastic. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
So the last question is a question that we do ourselves, and so we want to make this more than just our disability, right? So that's something that we talk about a lot. It's just we are people with hearing loss, not defined by our hearing loss, but we're also very avid readers, as my brother is as well. In fact, he's the reason I started reading Stephen King for fun when I was 12.
I still can't believe that's the first book you read.
The Stand. Yeah, because he read it, so I have to read it.
Well, Mom has a great picture of me reading to you in your car seat.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's
that's
so
really
sweet.
cute.
Yeah. I was like 7.5, 8 years old, and I'm reading to you.
It was awesome. So, book recommendation.
Book recommendation.
Yeah, what do you got?
Alrighty. I have a book. You did just recently read it. To you, it was kind of meh. Okay. Totally understandable that it would be, not everybody's going to love a book. But
I love the premise. It's really good.
But this book here, I got it, Mirror of Danger by Pamela Sykes. You might be able to read the back of it.
I'll post the link.
Sure.
To it. So.
There is actually a BBC miniseries
really?
from the 70s. So picture soundstage, great, great CGI back then. I think the ghost basically was a hair just suspended.
So think Doctor Who.
Basically around the same time.
Right.
But for some reason, this book, and I have 2 copies of this. You read the other one. This one's kind of getting old, and I like this cover better. For some reason, it helped me deal with the death of our grandfather.
Interesting.
I love those. I love those books that come along at the right time.
Yeah. I was in 5th grade. I was in the Thompson School in Arlington, and I found this book at the library. The cover spoke to me, and it's about a girl who starts out at a funeral. She had been raised by her aunt, who was into Victoria times things. And so she was raised Victorian, the way you dress and everything. And the only living relative she had was an aunt and uncle with a couple of kids that were very modern. So she had to deal with this modernization of her world. And in the attic, because they had an old home that the uncle was renovating, there was a mirror that she looked through, and there was a ghost from like the 1800s, and it would pull her into her world, into this Alice's world, and it's a whole kind of horror suspense.
Yeah, it was. So you don't know where that world is or when that world is.
Well, it was in the 1800s.
Right. So, but she wasn't sure when. It had a really good closure, so it did loop in and had that, but it wasn't like, what is Alice going to do? It was like the suspense was like, is she safe? It was good. It felt a little flat, but like I can see how just the timing. Julie and I talk about timing all the time. So it's the timing just really makes a book like hit home more for sure. So cool. So The Mirror of Danger, Pamela Sykes. As always, I'll do a link in the description. And do you have a book? Yeah, she's just going. I have a book, so go ahead and go with your book.
I don't know where my books went.
There goes Brad.
I know, this is my book.
I feel so abandoned.
Do you want to just like wing it?
I'll go right by in a second.
Right. So I'm going to do something. I'll be right back. Yep, go for it. I'm going to do A Long Halloween by Jeph Loeb. So this is a Batman series, and so this is a really good series. It's a killer kills on Halloween on a specific holiday for throughout the whole year, and there's a really good twist at the end with I think it's the Riddler. So it's really good.
Did you just give away the twist?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Who's the Riddler?
No, it's the Riddler.
You're done reading it.
So Tom got me into comics. I remember reading comics when I would sneak downstairs and steal some of his comics. Because I lived upstairs. So, but so by Long Halloween by Jeph Loeb. What do you got? You found something?
Well, I have this picked out, and
Okay.
because we had dinner, we cleared everything off the table.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
forgot where I put everything. So I am not a nature person at all, but I'm fascinated by reading stories about people that do go on adventures and kind of do extreme things, and I love John Krakauer's writing is incredible, so I've loved Into Thin Air, which was about the expedition on Everest, and this is also excellent, Into the Wild. And it's about a young man from a very wealthy family that decides to hike alone into the wilderness on Mount McKinley, and he's never seen again. And it's really kind of a sweeping, crazy story, trying to piece the story together when he was finally found in a trailer that was abandoned. Kind of the whole backstory of that and trying to piece it all together. So it's fascinating what people will attempt to do, and kind of gets you into the mind a little bit of people that need to just go off into the woods for some reason unknown to me.
We took Rocky for a walk today, and we walked onto some grass, and Julie was like, "Look, I'm hiking."
That was it. Well, this is actually excellent. Anything by John Krakauer is fantastic, so I highly recommend anything by him, but this is quite good.
Like John Panette said, camping for him is when room service closes at 10:30.
Absolutely. 100%. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Know thyself.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you.
Well,
This
thank
was
you for having me. This
fantastic.
was wonderful.
This is great.
I'm loving this.
Be sure to check out Trying Things with Tom on
Yes.
Facebook, where Tom
This is-
tries
he is-
all manner of things.
This is the inspiration of our name.
Right.
So
I'm going to try to get you to have me put it on YouTube.
absolutely, yeah. So I can take it. Solving more technology problems. Such is the life. But no, so So thank you so much.
Thank you.
for coming on.
Absolutely.
It was
Thank you
great.
for having me.
So I hope everybody
yeah,
learned a
yeah.
little bit something about Tom and myself, and gets you thinking about how your siblings treat you. So hopefully it's not horribly, but you never know. Anyway, comment below, please. Let us know what you think, and we will see you next time.